Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video I'm going to show you how to replace the thermal compound on your Hewlett-Packard 245 G8. Now the method is going to be very similar for a lot of the models that are based around this same chassis, so if you've got a similar model this is going to be great for you. And one of the things about the HP245 is the cooling solution is pretty minimal. Borderline horrible, there's not a lot of ventilation and it's only a single heat pipe in there as well, so it does tend to ramp up the fans now and then. So what I've decided to do is to take advantage of the Honeywell PTM7950. These are thermal pads which you can cut to size and it's a lot easier, and also they've got a very long lifespan, and being that they're phase change material, they will actually be solid while you're applying it, but once it gets over around like 40 to 45 degrees Celsius it turns into a liquid, so it should adhere to the actual APU or CPU in this particular model and hopefully will improve the cooling situation. If it doesn't improve it very much, then at least it's going to have some longevity. These pads are designed to last pretty much a lifetime of the product. So yeah, this is probably a good thing to do for most things, laptops, graphics cards, that sort of stuff, where you don't want to be having to take it apart on a regular basis. For CPUs, you can use it as well if you want to, but depending on how often you take off your cooler, then it may be quite expensive to do so. I've actually found a very good supplier on AliExpress for these, which is very, very cheap indeed. I'll put some affiliated links in the video description so you can check it out for yourselves. But with all that said, let's get down to actually taking the HP245 G8 apart. Now, I've got some overhead shots of this so you can see it hopefully a little bit better. We'll try and get you some really nice close-ups of this so you can see what's going on. In order to remove the back panel, which is the first thing you need to do, there are a bunch of screws to remove, which I've highlighted on here. You'll also need a couple of screwdrivers, so a PH1 or small crosshead screwdriver. Also, a flat edge is also beneficial as well, and possibly a spludger for removing the plastic casing, however you want to do it. But the smaller screwdriver is going to be for basically lifting up the rubber strips, which are at the top and the bottom of the back panel. So taking a look at the screws, so location wise, underneath the rubber strip here at the kind of top edge, you've got one screw there, and one screw in the middle. So you will need to peel this rubber strip pretty much all the way off. It does fit back on pretty well, so don't worry about that too much. And also there are two screws at the kind of the front leading edge here. These are the smaller black screws, as you can see here. And also if you peel back the rubber strip, there's also an additional one round about here. I unfortunately forgot about this one and actually damaged the plastics, which I glued, but yeah, hopefully yours will be absolutely fine. So with those screws removed and undone, you can use your spludger and lever off the plastic around the outside edges. And then if we take this out of the way, you can then see the thermal solution inside. And what I'll do is I'll move the other camera around as well so we can see this a little bit better. But you can get a general lay of the land. Also, we're going to need to remove the battery. There's a few screws around the outside edges for that also. The fan can remain in place, so you don't need to remove that. But there are 4 small screws for the actual heat pipe. So you see it's a single flat heat pipe which goes around here to the ventilation at the rear. So first of all, let's take the battery out. So to take the battery out, there's a couple of screws. One here. Let's take that out first of all. We've also got one here next to the battery connector. This one here. And there's one at the bottom on this side. So it should be, I think it's 4 screws in total. That looks about right. So then you can lift up the battery and then just pull it away from the contact prongs there and just put the battery to one side. And now we can start taking a look at the actual thermal solution. So like I said, you've got 4 screws which are holding this in place. One, 2, 3, and 4. And that is pretty much it. So you should be able to, if you kind of grab it around about this area here, you should be able to wiggle it free and lift up. and this section is kind of just pushed into place, so there's a little wiggle and that should remove. So there you go, there is your heat pipe assembly. So you're going to want to get some alcohol or some wipes to clean off the thermal paste which is on there. Also, it's probably a good idea at some point to actually clean out the fins there. These are basically unused, so that's going to be absolutely fine. And obviously you're going to need to remove the thermal paste around the actual APU there as well. You might want to get a brush into this section here, or give it a good blow, just make sure there's no dust in there. That will help with obviously the thermal solution. So next we're going to use some cotton buds or Q-tips, however you want to describe them, and also we will be using some isopropyl alcohol. I've got some here in a small spray bottle, so just spray a little bit onto the APU area, and also if you grab your heat pipe, spray a little bit on there as well. So we'll do the heat pipe first, so just agitate the IPA over the cold plate area. If yours is a little bit crusted up, it may take a little bit longer to do. This one's actually in pretty good shape. So just make sure it's all clean, and then you can use the other end of your Q-tips or a fresh Q-tip to remove any residue. Actually, I'm going to grab another clean one. And just keep going until your Q-tip comes up clean. It may take a little while. Yeah, I think that is pretty good. That's pretty clean. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but the cleaner you can get it, obviously the better the interface is going to be. And next we'll go to work actually on the CPU section. So again, exactly the same principle, just remove as much of the thermal compound as you can. Getting pretty squeaky clean there. And there we go, that's nice and clean. So now what we can do is to get our Honeywell PTM7950 pad, and as you can possibly see here, it's quite a large pad. So just cut it to size, roughly the same size as the CPU or APU die. If you want to, you can measure it to be absolutely perfect with your measurements. You can actually overlap it a little bit if you want to, so don't worry too much if it's not exactly right. Obviously this is relatively expensive, so just do be a little bit mindful of how expensive it potentially is. And you may want to make sure that you cut it properly the first time. So I'm just going to make a little line there. And there we go, that should be our pad. So just kind of offer up with the actual die. Yeah, that looks to be absolutely fine. So this has actually got a double-sided, or kind of like a protective film on both sides. So you want to peel that off. And in order to do that, you can, if you want to, use your kind of sharp tool to get it started. And you can just lever up, possibly at the corners. So there we just peeled one side off. So put that off to one side. And then you can attach that to the top of your APU or CPU. And just drop it into place. Apply a little bit of pressure. There is actually a tool actually inside the kit for doing that if you wish to. If you want to use that, you can do. The choice is entirely up to you. But just give it some moderately firm pressure. So notice there's a little bit of alcohol there, so we'll remove that. And when you're happy that it's in the right place, then you can go ahead and peel off the top section. This can be a little bit fiddly. especially if you don't have nails. And there we go, that's peeling off, oh, nearly. And there we go. So there is the top section off. And now what we need to do is just to put the cooler back into place. So we grab our cooler, we're actually going to put the tail end in first of all. Make sure it's up the right way, of course. And kind of get that roughly into position. And then if you just line up the holes with the holes actually on the main board before you put any pressure on it. And I think that is pretty much in the right place. Yeah, that's good. So now we can get the 4 screws which we removed a little bit earlier and put those back in. Just do a couple of turns on each one just to get it started. Ideally you want to get some equal pressure on all 4 sides. Depending on your cooler setup, if your laptop or the unit you're using this on is a little bit different, and obviously just do it however the manufacturer recommends. And then just do opposing sides, couple of turns, and do it until the screws bottom out. That one's bottomed out. And that one has as well. Don't put too much pressure on when it bottoms out. It should just stop. You don't need to use any aggression or any force on it. Just do it until it stops. So that is it. That is done. So that is in place. You can give it a little press if you wish to. But that is essentially it. So now all we need to do is to reinstall the battery and put the back cover back on, and then we can go ahead and do some testing and make sure that everything is working as it should do. And we can do some thermal tests, which we'll come back and show you shortly. Okay, so we're back and the tests have been done. So let's quickly run through the numbers. So the first test I did was just getting a baseline measurement of the unit in its idle configuration and also its highest. So this is just messing around with Windows, running Windows updates, etc. So the first time round, our lowest temperature was 42.3 degrees Celsius, and we got up to 88.9 Celsius. And that isn't running an all-core load, that is just letting Windows do its thing in the background. So then after that, we did a test using Cinebench R23 with a 5-minute loop, which is more than enough to get our temperatures up to where they need to be. So the first test with the same configuration, lowest temperature did drop down a little bit, so 40.8 degrees Celsius, with the highest recorded temperature of 92 degrees Celsius, which is a little bit on the toasty side. And we got a score in Cinebench of 5,652 points. So then we decided it's a good idea to run the test again after we've fitted our thermal pad or phase change material. And then the first run, the lowest recorded temperature was 35.2 degrees Celsius. The highest recorded temperature, weirdly, was 100 degrees Celsius, which I think is down to me having the laptop on an angle, so the actual liquid in the thermal chamber wasn't quite acting correctly, but we actually got a better score. So Cinebench came in with a score of 5,846 points, so that is approximately 200 points more, so yeah, that's a pretty decent start to begin with. So after that, I actually turned the unit off, let it settle down, leave it off for a little while, did a few power cycles, just to get some heat in and out, and then run the test again. And then after the power cycles, we got our lowest recorded temperature of 36.9 degrees Celsius, so that is pretty decent, and the highest recorded temperature was 82 degrees Celsius, so 10 degrees better than the original, and also nearly 20 degrees better than the first application. And what was most surprising, actually, we did get a significant increase in the Cinebench score, so we got a score of 6,096 points. So that is a significant jump that I would say is very much not a margin of error thing. That is getting up towards sort of 300 points, so that is a pretty significant change. And as with phase change material, generally it tends to get better as it beds in further into the system. So yeah, I am very pleased. This was a relatively easy job to do, although there was some stuff off camera which you didn't see, where I actually managed to dislodge one of the memory sticks when I was putting it all back together, and the system just would not boot. I was like, oh my god, I've killed it. It turned out to be a RAM stick, so I took those out, reseated them, and everything was absolutely fine. So I think if you're looking to cool your device, no matter what it is, laptop, graphics card, maybe even your CPU, using the phase change material actually does make sense to do. It's a little bit on the pricey side, but you do get a lot of longevity out of it, and certainly you do get increased performance, better figures, and lower temps. So there you go. There is how to change the thermal compound on your Hewlett-Packard 245 G8, and obviously other models as well. Hopefully you found this video interesting. If you have, leave a like. If you also want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe and also that chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. So I think that's going to pretty much wrap things up. I've been Mike, that's been Dave, this has been Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.